Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. Meep. 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 Like that character on the show with the puppets, with the orange hair. I thought it was just one of those greetings kids do. So in order to prove I wasn't a suspicious person, I responded in kind. Meep. Meep? Meep, meep? The girl stared at me dubiously with a doll-like expression. Cute, but cold and hard to read. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. There was, after all, an unfamiliar man right in front of her when she woke up, who responded with meep when she said the same. Suspicious. She definitely thought that I was suspicious. Meep. Meep. Me meep. We were both at a loss for words. No, the only one lost was me. The girl in front of me, as if inquiring about my motives, stared at me intently. In this silence, I felt like I was the one who had to say something first. Damn it, this girl was way better at interrogating somebody than Oishi. I'm not anybody suspicious. I'm... Nipa! Nipa? Nipa! What I could have only described as a cold expression suddenly blossomed into a smile, one that soon infected me. You might be familiar with the term angelic smile. To me, it was like that phrase was created just to describe the smile she gave me. The girl smiling while saying Nipa was probably wanted me to return the favor in kind. That's right, this is a kid's form of communication. Having the other person emulate what you just did was a rudimentary form of mutual understanding. Nipa! Nipa! It was a beautiful afternoon in the early summer. What was I doing? Nipa! Nipa! Well, whatever. This was interesting in its own way. If making somebody happy with just a smile was the work of angels, then this girl was definitely one of them. I couldn't help but pray that my own child, who was soon to be born, would grow up to be like this girl. That strangely gentle moment was finally brought to an end by the arrival of a car. An older person waved at me from the driver's seat, a dry smile plastered on their face. "Hi there. Good afternoon. Sorry for being late. You're the tourist who phoned yesterday, right? Huh? Yes. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm running a little behind because of the farm. Hop right in. It looks like the weather isn't going to hold up for much longer. So I'll show you around real quick." "Huh? The weather? It changes fast around here. There'll probably be evening showers again today. If that happens, you won't be able to take any pictures. Come on, get on in." Get in. Meep. Turning around, the girl was standing right behind me with an intrigued expression. Her body language somehow reminded me of a stray cat that followed you around after you played with it a little. So charming. Well, if it isn't Rika-chama. Praise be. Nipa. A girl named Rika with an immaculate smile, and an old man praising her while rubbing prayer beads in his hands. It was a rather mysterious sight to behold. "Are you going to work, Makino?" "It's not exactly work per se. I was asked by the mayor to show around a young'un who come around to the village for some sightseeing." "A young'un who came to the village for sightseeing?" The girl Rika-chan said that with a smile as she clung onto my arm. "Well, yeah. I heard that this village is surrounded by a precious nature reserve, so I very much wanted to record that with my camera. Even though I look like this, I really like to take pictures." "Tomataki MK2. Huh? Tomataki? Huh? Makino, is it okay if I come along too?" I couldn't. You could come along, Chama, but there's nothing interesting to see. You should go play near the shrine or something." Meep. A distinctly displeased expression creeped across Rika-chan's face. Being able to show one's emotions honestly on their face was a privilege young children had. "If it's not too much of a problem, could you bring this child along with us?" When I said those helpful words, another smile spread across Rika-chan's face, with another Nipa as she clung to me again. Not bad at all. I want this girl to call me Papa. No, Father. Dad. Daddy. We're channeling the power of Rena Ryuga. What am I doing? Ever since I met this girl, it's completely off my game. Just calm down. Nothing I can do, I guess. Rika-chama never listens, even if you say no. Come on, hop on in. Come now, Rika-chama, too. The old man descended from the driver's seat and opened up the sliding door of the van, which had Onagafushi Alliance Town Council stenciled on the side. Rika-chan brushed me aside, dove into a seat, and began bouncing around right away. It seemed like she was thoroughly enjoying the bouncy springs. Come on now, Rika-chama. If you're like that, our guests can't sit down. Hey, Rika-chama. Ha. Girls are nice. I wonder if my child will play around like this too. No. It was written in that guide to raising a child that you shouldn't dote on them. Kids are kids if you don't raise them strictly without spoiling them. It's soft and springy. Nipa. Nipa. I am definitely going to be a terrible father. It was decided that I would be a doting parent before my child was even born. Well then, sir, I'll show you around some places that I think look nice. I think that's the best way to be a parent, honestly. Heck, I think that's the best way to be with anyone. Whether it be a child, friend, or anybody you care about. Have you eaten lunch yet? Yeah. I had a light meal at the hotel. Is that so? Well then, let's get going. We're setting off on a tour of Himatsubushi. Yay! Is it alright if I call you Rika-chan? Sure. My name is Rika Furude. I can already do addition in the tens digit. Oh, is that true? That's amazing. Ha 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 ha. I don't count on my fingers. I can do it all in my head. The way she insisted upon that was just too cute. At some point, the nervousness I had about being alone in enemy territory had evaporated, like it was never there at all. I had to be at least a little thankful that I met this girl. Well then, let's get going. It's time for Himatsubushi nature watching. The old man stepped on the gas with a great deal of gusto. Is it weird that right now I'm thinking about what if Rick and Morty tried to do a parody of Higurashi? The old man, who was apparently named Makino, was he the same Makino that was listed as the auditor of the Onagafushi Defense Alliance? Showed me around places that were all breathtaking. Even though I wasn't really here for sightseeing, I couldn't help but be impressed. First of all, this was different from the simple scenery of the city. The scenery of a charming village like this, no matter how mundane it seemed to the villagers, had a tranquil appeal to it. Ah, maybe we should live here. Do you guys think I should live in Himatsubushi? At first, I was only releasing the shutter as part of my tourist act, but midway through, I found myself taking pictures out of pure interest. Tourist traps had their own unique allure to them, but there was nothing like that here. I was especially captivated by the unspoiled nature of the place. If there wasn't that whole uproar over the dam, I would want to bring Yuki with me here some other time. I wanted her to breathe in this fresh air, as well as show her this rejuvenating, verdant scenery. Bring your friends, bring your family to Himatsubushi! Is something like this that interesting? You're a strange person, Akasaka. Did I ever give my name? No, these cylindrical mailboxes are rare nowadays. They have a certain nostalgic air about them. You wouldn't happen to think they're elegant, would you? Ha ha. Is Hinamizawa fun? Yeah, it's fun. Once she's discharged from the hospital, I'd like to bring my wife here. At least once. With the child that would be born by that time. Right now, she's in the hospital wanting to give birth. She's due any day now. Haha, it'd be nice if they're a cute girl like you. The problem with this is this. This makes a very unusual issue. Because here's the thing. It's one thing for a loving husband and father to be away from the birth of their child if they're working. You know, it's something you have to do. You don't have a choice, and even then, I remember when my son was born, I actually managed to do everything in my power to make sure that I would have time off when the time came. Took 2 weeks, which was necessary because, well, my wife and son needed someone to take care of both of them. I was definitely criticized as being an overly doting and overly protective father. But, yeah, I just wanted to do everything in my power to be the best dad that I could in the whole world, at least according to my own ability and circumstances. But, in this circumstance, Akasaka, this makes you look like a complete fucking douche. Because your wife's about to give birth to your child, and it's like you've just blown them off to, like, go to a theme park, pretty much. You're like, I'm gonna go sightseeing and have some fun. So it seems like you've just casually abandoned your family. Sir, it seems like congratulations are soon to be in order. Still, that's not good. To leave your wife behind and play around in a place like this. I was momentarily at a loss for words. It was exactly how Makino said. There was no good reason for a man who was waiting for his wife to give birth to be playing around idly in this place. Did I slip up? Yes, you did! Multiple ways! First off, I don't think we've ever given our name as Akasako. So why do you know my name is Akasaka? Time looping goddess that's 1,000 years old. But yeah, this is everything up till now has been fine. This was a major issue. Like it definitely raises red flags. Well, we had already planned this trip to Himatsubushi. My wife's family is with her, so it's alright. If you had this planned so far in advance, then how come you didn't make the sign-up deadline for the nature... God... Fuck! God! Well, this is bad. If you did, you could have toured around on an ice bus instead of being cramped up in here. It didn't seem as if Makino was actually digging for anything. But if this conversation continued longer, it would put some unexpected holes in my cover. I halted this conversation by pretending to take another picture. Which, again, is just... I mean, Hinamizawa is nice, aside from... you know, the angry people about the damn protest. Then again, I fully support that. You know, I fully support Hinamizawa, you know, standing up to them building the dam. Unless that somehow would have prevented the volcanic swamp gas that literally murders everyone in the village. Honestly, my main complaint with Hinamizawa is the brain parasites that basically give everyone space rabies, that make everyone insane and also die unpleasantly. But I mean, aside from the fact that the people at the Dam Project are perhaps a little bit too aggressive, maybe there's no internet out here, but then it's the 80s. Internet doesn't exist yet. Heck, most people don't even know what a computer is. Everyone's typing on typewriters still. Just saying, Hinamizawa would be nice. If, you don't consider the overly aggressive dam protesting. Like, here's the thing. I fully support the side of the Hinamizawa people being against the dam being built in the first place. I mean, granted, there's some wiggle room in terms of would building the dam prevent the great tragedy with the volcanic swamp gas that kills everyone in the village? I mean, if that's the case, then it'd be better if they built the dam because, well, if they don't build the dam, then everyone's just going to die. Like, although they build the dam, it's going to submerge the city in water. Yeah, but if you don't build the dam, the city's going to be submerged in volcanic gases and everyone's going to die. At least the dam way, everybody lives and you get paid. So you're all richer and alive. But, assuming none of that exists because we have no reason to know about future events that are considered freak, unusual circumstances. Assuming stuff like that isn't going to happen and that there is no negatives in the future of Hinamizawa, yeah, I'd be against them building the dam. But I don't know if I would want to go about that in a violent way, like kidnapping people, or hurting people, or throwing rocks at people, or putting sugar cubes in construction equipment or trucks. Like, I don't know if I'd want to do anything violent or destructive, but I would certainly protest it. I would certainly, make my displeasure at the building of the dam clear. I'd make my voice heard, and I would try to seek legal help. But I don't think I'd be comfortable with the whole, kidnapping people thing, or murdering people, or assaulting people and stuff like that. But aside from that, Hinamizawa seems nice. Well, I mean, there's also the horrific brain parasites that cause death and also cause you to go insane and murder everyone, including yourself. But I mean, most cities have some kind of downside. So I mean, all cities have a downside. There's also the Nazis that live in the mountains. That's also a downside. Okay, so the main downsides of Hinamizawa is 1, there's a swamp that releases volcanic gas that will kill everyone. 2, some of the people against the dam project, well, again, I support their side of being against dam project. They are a bit violent and aggressive about it. Also, there's a lack of internet here, or TV, or Burger Kings, or stuff like that. Then again, maybe like Satoko could cook me something. I don't know. I mean, it's not like... I'm just saying, Hinamizawa doesn't have a Walmart. And there's not like there's a Outback Steakhouse here. I mean, I'm like, hey, Rika, you want to go get a bloomin' onion? So, yeah. Also, there's the brain parasites thing. That's bad. I don't like that. Also, the army of hundreds of Nazis with machine guns. I don't particularly feel comfortable with that. But aside from that, Hinamizawa does seem like a really nice place. I imagine I would live in a much more rural area. I mean, granted, I don't live in a major city, but I feel like I would live in a slightly more country, like a slightly more less. I really can't complain, but I feel like I would live in a much lower population density than I do if I had more money. Because the main reason anybody lives in any kind of city is for monetary reasons. It's easier to work and get back and forth to places you need, like a Walmart. That being said, I would definitely be against ever living in a city that's completely out in the boondocks. Because, like, what if there's a major emergency? Is there a hospital nearby that can actually, treat major injuries or concerns? Also, you don't want to be like in the middle of the woods. Like, I'm just saying this. I feel like if you are sufficiently out in the country, I feel like the likelihood of like Lovecraftian horror or cryptids goes up a little bit. Like, I feel like the best way to define like what's too far out in the country would be this. Like, if aliens were to suddenly land in the middle of like a major city in like England or something, or like New York, that would be world news. I feel like the easiest way to be like a definitive thing would be like, imagine like a small bit of the country, like even a small town. If aliens were to suddenly land in the middle of the day or the middle of the night, it would be world news. It would be stuff that would be something that would be noticed. But now imagine like it's really, like even Himatsubushi would have enough of a population that news would get out. I'm saying, like, you ever drive down the roads? Granted, this is more of an American thing, because I know a lot of European nations, they have a lot more of a public transport system. Even Japan does too. Like, for the most part, America really doesn't have much of a public transport system, aside from like the major cities. For the most part, most of America, you get around via roads. You can't get anywhere unless you have a car. It's just like in many European or Japanese cities, you can probably get anywhere you need to via their public transportation system. Whereas in America, you need a car. It's non-debatable. It's just, there's no other way. I mean, there's no here's the thing. And while in a smaller city, perhaps you could walk places, you can't really leave your city. Whereas in a big city, you can't get anywhere on foot. Everything's too far away. I'm just saying, America has a very, America lacks a massive, America lacks the public transportation system that many other countries boast. But we do, however, have the most extensive and thorough road system for freeways and highways and things like that, and even country roads. To where it's possible that you could drive for hours and hours just through a bunch of farms. Like, there's stretches and parts of the country that's just farmland that's larger than most European countries. But I'm saying this. There's many farmers out there who live out there and have big enough land that literally they could stand on their front porch and they can't see any of the houses of any of their neighbors. But yeah, I'm just saying, I feel like if aliens were to land there, there's a chance nobody would even notice. Who else kind of wants aliens to land just so we can have a White House press conference of Donald Trump, having a public meeting with aliens? I don't know. You guys watch that Fleekazoid thing? The President Flump It's pretty funny. I enjoyed Smuggle and a few other people's reactions to it. Forget what we were talking about. I don't know. But yeah, we definitely fucked up multiple times. One, how did she know our name was Akasaka? Are we not using a fake name? Well then, for our last stop, I'll take you to the place with the best view. Alright, whether or not I would live in Himazawa. I mean, I think in general, I think I'd have an issue with. Like, I've heard a lot of places in Europe and Japan, just don't have air conditioning, and I like air conditioning. I mean, I am very grateful I live in an era that contains air conditioning and anime. It was slightly before evening. The sun was still burning brightly, but a cool breeze had begun to mix itself into the air. Yeah, see, my exploration in Himazawa of Rika-chan was just about done. I will say this. Himazawa does seem like a nice place. It's just there are a few things it lacks. Also, there's a few issues, which we already addressed, but aside from those, I mean, most of those aren't really well known. So, assuming the non-well-known things just don't exist, it's nice. I mean, I might have to go to the major city from time to time. I might want to do other things and to see other places, but Himazawa would actually be nice. The place with the best view. Well, Rika-chama, where else could it be but the view from around the shrine? Hearing that, Rika-chan smiled even more. Well then, I'll introduce you to my home, Akasaka. Huh? By Rika-chan's home, you mean, huh? The shrine. Furude Shrine. There is an observation platform. You can see some pretty scenery. Furude Shrine. The girl called Furude Shrine her home, Rika. If I remember correctly, her full name was Rika Furude. And Furude was, that's right, one of the three families. Even if the Sonozaki family is said to hold all the actual power, it was still one of the old houses that held some authority. No, more important than that right now was Furude Shrine. If I remember correctly, Oshi had told me, within the grounds of Furude Shrine, there were offices of the Onagafushi Defense Alliance, and since the land around Furude Shrine was private property, the police couldn't set foot there heedlessly. Furude Shrine was where even Uishi couldn't simply set foot into. The main base of operations for the Onagafushi Defense Alliance. I mean, I'm pretty sure the police are allowed to go there for the festival, right? As long as they don't interfere. I mean, the festival's open to the public, right? I had been given the unexpected opportunity to enter there. I couldn't have asked for more. I'm looking forward to it. Please, if you would. Well then, let's get there quick. The weather seems to be getting a little iffy. The sky had suddenly become overcast. It wouldn't be odd if it started raining soon. Little Caesars recently came back out with a pretzel pizza. That could be interesting. The cicadas, as if trying to finish their daily allotment of chirps before the evening, cried out even more fervently. The vans stopped in the shrine's parking lot. Also parked there were numerous other vans, with loudspeakers mounted on top of them to act as makeshift propaganda vehicles. On the side of each vehicle was scrawled, "The dam project must be demolished. Defend our homeland to the last. No Oyashiro-sama's anger," or a slogan of a similar kind. They gave the feeling that even without using loudspeakers, there was enough to overwhelm any onlookers. Vertical banners were being erected in various places. Ew. The contents of those banners were similar. They were all objections against the dam, or crude insults toward the government. There were horizontal banners, placards, and so on and so forth. They proclaimed that without a doubt this was the headquarters of the Onagafushi Defense Alliance. Rika-chan, however, this hectic place was also her home. We've arrived. I'm home. Hey, Rika, I know this is a weird question to ask, but the place where I originally got picked up at, why were you there? I know you live here, but there was no reason for you to be in that particular spot on that particular day. And you're like, oh, why she had to justify it? It's like, it's not that she needs to justify it. She doesn't. What it is that I feel there's a logical issue with. There's a coincidence occurring here that I can't help but feel is unnatural. That the likelihood of just running into her like that, I guess it'd be like, say, I don't know. Just saying, I feel like the probability, or like I just feel like this doesn't seem like something that would happen just by coincidence. I wonder if everybody in the Onagafushi Defense Alliance actually already maybe knows about me. After all, it wouldn't be so odd for one of them that maybe there'd be a mole in the police keeping in tabs. Besides, again, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Yesterday, a strange person came with Oishi wearing a mask, and now you have this strange person without the mask. I wonder if they're the same person. Like, I would assume last night there was some big meeting, and they're like, hey guys, the Oishi brought somebody into town yesterday, but he wore all mask. We have arrived. I'm home. Rika-chan crawled over my lap and exited the vehicle first. Makino had noticed that I was looking at protest banners. The shrine also has the offices of the anti-dam movement. For you, this probably brings back memories of the anti-security treaty conflicts back in the day. Student movements against government policies. Movements that bordered on terrorist activity were at one time commonplace, if only to garner global attention. Students holding out lecture halls, brawling with the riot squads that charged in. It was an age where wasting one's youth like that was widely considered a road to glory. It was slightly before my time. I'm not really an activist or anything. I study without incident and graduate without incident. I don't really agree with violence or occupations they use to protest the government's policies. Oh? You have quite the nice opinion there. If you have an opinion on policy, vote for the candidate who shares your view, or enter the political world for yourself and assert your beliefs in a lawful manner. That is the foundation of democracy. I don't think that's something you should challenge with violence. For a young'un, you have some fine beliefs. I saw that feeling of respect reflecting in Makino's gaze. I mean, I do agree with this. Like, there's many people out there that have political opinions I disagree with. But, in general, I strongly believe everyone should be able to have civil discussions on things. Heck, there's some people that disown family members or friends if they voted for somebody different in an election or something like that. But as far as I'm concerned, a person doesn't have to agree with all of my views for me to accept them. I can understand they're their own person and they can make their own decisions. I'm not going to disown family or friends just because we disagree on something. I don't determine whether or not I accept someone based on that. Heck, in general, politics and discussions like this really are things I just don't see a point in discussing with family. Because a lot of times when I'm seeing family members, I have more important things I want to talk about. I want to just value time spent with family. I'm not there to debate people or win some sort of argument. I'm there just to enjoy their company and, well, especially people that are getting older. I mean, I want to be able to spend time with them before they eventually die of old age. Because, that's depressing. Or maybe I'll just die before them. Who knows? At that moment, something tugged at my sleeve. I have no idea what Akasaka is saying. Rika-chan, feeling like she was the only one who didn't understand the conversation, had a look of displeasure on her face. That expression was so charming I had to keep myself from grinning like an idiot. It's often said that a father wants to spoil his daughter rotten. I think I understand that feeling very well. Sorry, it was a little bit hard for Rika-chan to understand, wasn't it? Japan is a peaceful country, so you have to argue your point in a peaceful manner. You shouldn't resort to violence, in other words. No matter how much I explained to a girl who was just boasting about being able to carry digits over when adding things probably wouldn't understand. It probably wasn't something to talk about in front of Rika-chan anyway. So then, Akasaka, what is this sudden appearance? What is this? What is this? What? Well, concerned about what's about to be said. So then, Akasaka, how do you think we should keep our village from being flooded by the dam? Well, that was very direct. I would say the most logical path to the answer then would be this. Evaluate the motives for why they want to build the dam in the first place. Like, it's all well and good, and definitely routes you should take to, one, point out that the people living here don't want the dam to be built and that they want their home, and sometimes people just want to keep their homes and don't want to move, or that Hinamizawa itself is a bit of nature worth preserving. But rather than espousing for why you want your city to remain the way it is, I think the more effective way of resisting the dam project would be to evaluate why the people that want to build the dam project want to build the dam project in the first place, rather than trying to appeal to everyone's, which again, it's still a good idea to bring this stuff up. If you have multiple arguments for your point, it really helps your case. But I think the most effective thing would be to look at why they want to build the dam and find a flaw in that idea. It may even be able to convince the people wanting to build the dam to change their own minds out of their own self-interest, which would be in what you would want. Now, I can't say I really understand why they want to build the dam myself. But, yeah, just evaluate why they want to build the dam and poke holes in the feasibility of that or offer better options. But indirect, it should be just speak to them and be like, hey, we live here, but obviously you guys are getting desperate. I'm just saying the point of hurting people and violence, that's... But again, I guess if I was a Hinamizawa resident, would I eventually try more desperate means? And the answer is only if I felt I had exhausted all their choices. I would feel that I should try every possible non-violent option first, though. It's not like, oh, should we resort to violence? Yes, of course. No. Just, it's more like eventually. It should be like our first response. But obviously they've tried other things. I'm just saying. A lot of times I feel like a lot of people are a little bit too gung-ho on that. Then again, people say I'm just too reserved on it. I'm just saying there should definitely be a mix of both. But yeah, I'd say the main thing is that you want to try to appeal to people. So aside from talking about how Hinamizawa it is, I'd say your best option would be, one, to poke holes in the feasibility of the reason to build the dam in the first place, and also to try to find influential people or journalists that would sympathize with you and could spread your message. Obviously, if you already have a lot more people in Japan behind you, then eventually the politicians in charge of the dam would just have to cancel the plans anyway. But yeah, eventually here's a question: if violence were the only way, well, I guess the question is this: how much do I care about Hinamizawa? Because here's the thing: I've never owned land or owned a home. I probably never will. But I imagine if I actually lived in a village and I owned land and I owned a house and I actually had something to fight for, it's just, I really have no loyalty to the city I live in, because I feel like there's no positive incentive for me. There's nothing that would make my life happier if all of a sudden they wanted to build a dam and flood this entire city, but all the residents were offered money and the ability to go wherever they want, I really have no attachment to where I live, other than it's just convenient. And also, I don't like change, apparently. Apparently, that's also a symptom of autism. I don't know. But if I lived in a small village and it was a place that I actually felt, I don't know, a sense of belonging in, and I actually owned land and property, and I actually had, you know, a vested interest that makes my life better by the city continuing to exist, and an attachment to it, then yeah, I'm just saying, if violence were obviously I would try everything else otherwise, but if violence were the only way to save my town of Himazawa, I mean, it's not a decision I would make easily, but it is something that would be rolling around in the head, and I'd be considering how I feel about it. So I'd be very conflicted about a lot of things. But I don't know. Even if I regretted my careless words, it was too late now. Here was at the main headquarters of an organization telling them their way of doing things was illegal, preaching that violence was not the answer. A complicated feeling had mixed itself in with the respect in Makino's gaze. It was then I finally realized it wasn't that simple. There wasn't a soul who would argue that what I was saying wasn't correct. Using violence to get one's way was something that everybody knew you shouldn't be proud of. However, right now Hinamizawa was in a predicament that couldn't be overcome with peaceful means alone. The legality of the Hinamizawa Dam project, through the efforts of the various propaganda campaigns enacted by Onoguchi Fish Defense Alliance, was being called into question. Probably your best option would be to hold some journalists or something. People that would be on your side. If they further strengthen their campaign, they might be able to suspend or change the construction plans. But that was at most just a possibility. If the government proceeded with the construction planned, it wouldn't be long before this place is the bottom of a lake. If it wasn't for the unrestrained resistance of residents of Mizawa, this place might already have been underwater. We can't live anywhere else other than here. We can't live in the city. The words of this remarkably young girl were all too accurate, carrying with them the screams, the hearts and minds of the residents of Hinamizawa. I mean, technically you guys can't live anywhere else, because anyone that's spent enough time living in Hinamizawa is infected with the brain parasite thing that triggers a self-destruct psycho mode yandere's in everybody, if you A, leave, or 2, go through severe stress. It's like, hey, you have a brain parasite. If you go traveling really far, leave your home, or go through a lot of stress and anxiety, you'll become schizophrenic and violent, and then die. I mean, maybe you won't die. I mean, as long as you remember to stay hydrated and don't scratch your neck too much, you could probably survive Hinamizawa syndrome. You just have to... Okay, so how to survive Hinamizawa syndrome. 1. Don't become stressed and anxious. But in the case that you've triggered Hinamizawa syndrome, technically you could survive. You just have to take some vitamins, maybe some stuff to suppress the parasites from doing lethal damage to your brain, maybe some mood stabilizers. I like the music. Make sure not to kill anyone. Make sure not to hurt yourself. Be aware that you have become schizophrenic. And don't scratch your neck so hard that you claw your own throat. So just perhaps have a 24/7 nurse that's always watching you when you're sleeping. Obviously, it would have to be in shifts, and this is very impractical. But technically, you could survive. You just have to don't kill yourself or kill other people. Stay hydrated. Get some checkups at the doctor, and maybe some anti-schizophrenia pills. Some mood-stabilizing pills. Burger King. You know, don't scratch your neck a lot. Don't give in to violent thoughts or paranoia. Of course, there was nothing I could say to respond to that. I can only respond to Makino with a chance heavy words of silence. I'm sorry. This isn't a problem that outsiders should lightly just poke their nose into, is it? I apologize. Makino, unsure of how to reply for a while, could only laugh pointlessly. Ha 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 ha. It's nothing that concerns guests that make their home somewhere else. If you enjoy it here, please tell all your friends that Himazawa is a wonderful place. Please. If word spreads to dozens, maybe hundreds of people, then that ridiculous plan to submerge this place at the foot of a dam will eventually fall apart. I mean, that would help your cause. He followed that with a smile that said, please don't think much of it. Makino letting me not worry that much really was a stroke of good fortune. Thank you for being a really cool dude. Becoming infatuated with the idea of making friends with a little girl had made me completely forget my apprehension of being in enemy territory. Being reminded of this night, right before I was going to step foot into their headquarters, might have been a good thing. If we had had this exchange in the middle of their office, if there was a short-tempered youth in there, they might have come at me. Are we talking about Mion? Are we talking about Mion Sonozaki? Thinking of how extreme they were, in the worst case, my life could have been in danger. It seems that I looked quite despondent at that moment. Makino, thinking he had said something wrong, became flustered, trying to think of a way to improve my mood. I was a bit careless just now. I'm very sorry. No, don't worry that much about it. The sights you showed me around the village were all beautiful, wonderful places. I really do want to come here one more time. If this beautiful village is going to be submerged at the bottom of the lake, I can understand why you would want to fight so desperately. I had somehow managed to use my despondent look to change the topic in my favor. After a bit, Makino had returned to his usual high spirits. It seemed he believed I completely sympathized with his point of view. Now, let's leave the talk at that for now. There's a place around here with a really great view. Let's go, Akasaka. Or Akasaka. I don't know how to pronounce it. What syllables do I accentuate? Where is the accent? Rika-chan, seemingly happy to be free from all the boring, gloomy adult talk, bounded up the stone steps. There was no real need to run, but in order to catch up with her, I also darted up the steps. There were several tents belonging to the town council erected on the shrine grounds. Inside the tents were several folding tables and chairs, and a number of the older town council members were livening things up with chit-chat. They weren't saying anything incendiary like, the damn project must be destroyed. It was just some relaxed, idle chit-chat between local geezers, the normal sort of calming scenery. At the entrance of a shed that looked like a meeting place, there was a large sign erected with Onagafushi Defense Alliance Headquarters written in bold brushstrokes. That was their base of operations. To be honest, it was a bit of a letdown. I'm quite certain that had Rika not come with us, we probably would not have been allowed here. If you asked what I had been imagining, I think if anything, the main reason we're here, the main reason it probably came to the dude's mind at all, was because of Rika. After I had to give him a ride home. This is a bit embarrassing, but I thought it would be something much more dramatic. with barbed wire fences and barricades. My first impression of the place, though, was completely different from that. It looked like a simple backwater town hall. It didn't look like anything other than that exactly. That. The old folks who were chatting noticed Rika-chan's presence. Well, isn't it, Rika-chama? It's time for little kids to head on home. This is my home. The old fox guffawed, since she wasn't wrong. From that exchange, I could tell that this Rika-fruta girl was loved by everybody. Makino-san? Who's that? The tourist who phoned? That's right. This is the mayor of Himazawa, Mayor Kimiyoshi. He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking he would be scary if he got angry. By the looks of things, this old man was the president of the Onigatafushi Defense Alliance, none other than Kiichiro Kimiyoshi himself. Welcome to Himazawa. What do you think? It's a quiet and relaxing place, isn't it? Yeah, I was able to appreciate a multitude of beautiful places throughout the whole day. I'm thankful for being granted this rare opportunity. Even though you're one of those young'uns, you're quite the gentleman. Kiichiro? I went to show Akasaka a cool place, thinking that the formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for far too long. Rika-chan butted into the conversation, for her to call the mayor by his first name. I felt it was a little strange, but none of the villagers seemed to mind. A girl of the Furude household, one of the 3 families. She was probably different than the average villager. Akasaka, over here. Rika-chan tugged at my sleeve. Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over, and waiting for me was a magnificent view. This is amazing. It was an observation deck that looked down on the village. They, knowing that this was the best view in the entire village, kept quiet as I stood there awestruck. I was holding a camera, but had completely forgotten to even glance through the viewfinder. This view, no matter what kind of film it was printed on, it wouldn't be able to show everything. If there was a way to explain it, it would only be what I would be able to put into words. It was just a breathtakingly spectacular view that I struggled to find a comparison. For a while I was left awestruck. I could only stand there and wonder. A cool breeze helped abate the heat rushing through my body. That comfortable sensation also left me speechless. Rika-chan, who had been holding onto my sleeve the entire time, spoke. This is my favorite spot. Which is kind of weird, though, when you think about it, because there was actually a different version of this anime where, like, Rika wants to leave the village to, like, pursue her own ambitions and to find herself because she wants to find out how she'd be outside the village. As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. That smile seemed very fleeting. If you ask why, that was because the view from her favorite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam reservoir. I just can't believe this village is going to end at the bottom of a lake. I said it quietly so only Rika-chan could hear it. I regretted it as soon as I did, for those words were all too cruel. However, Rika-chan didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a smile. It won't sink. The dam project will definitely go away. It was just like a little girl to say something like that. There was no basis for her saying so. It was just her wish. Akasaka, do you think this village that this village will be submerged? It's not that I want it to be. I knew how important the dam was. I knew that it was necessary. I just didn't want to recognize the sacrifices that would be made. I agreed with the project in general, but couldn't agree with some of the details. But if it meant this girl's beloved scenery would be taken away from her, I might be able to object to the dam. I would say this. Obviously, there is a benefit to dams being built. Obviously, there's a reason to do it. But it should be a consensus of the people. And obviously, a large group of the people are very upset with it. So, even if it would benefit other people, at the end of the day, if it's going to fuck these guys over, well, that's not fair to them. I mean, obviously, yes, you do need a dam to get built. But can we not find another location? I might be able to ignore the interests of the nation, the development of Japan, all for the sake of one girl's smile. I'm not really much of a humanist, but how sentimental of me. It won't be submerged, because the dam project will soon go away. Her words weren't just hopes and dreams, but were seasoned with a hint of resolve, as if she was talking about an unchangeably predetermined outcome. As surely as the sun rising in the east, it'll be gone soon. Wanting to ask her why she believed that, I turned around. Yes, it'll be gone. What makes you say that? Well, you see. She seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was about to say. Regardless of what Akasaka does, the dam project will end this year. You know, I am concerned about how you put me into that scenario. Because the way you phrase that is you're making it sound like I have a direct impact on the dam project and that I am at odds with the village. I don't like either of those things. It's already been decided. That was a lie. So if that had already been decided, then the Onagafushi Defense Alliance would have no reason to continue existing. From my point of view, it was like they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves into an endless battle. If they knew the dam project was cancelled, it would feel much more relaxed around here. This village, though, could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember the charged atmosphere was at the checkpoint or the bus stop. The villagers, with their misplaced resolve, were still fighting, and this scroll, even knowing the villagers' grim resolve, had it already declared their victory. The villagers throwing themselves into this endless war, and this optimistic girl who said they had already won. That contrast was somehow strange. Why do you think that, if you know something that makes you confident? That confident, could you tell me? Rika-chan stayed silent for a while, seemingly choosing what to say. Because she looked like she was lost on whether she should continue or not. As if she was troubled on whether or not it was okay for her to say it. That kind of expression. It's already been decided. There's no other way to say it. It's already been decided, huh? It really is just like a little girl to say something like that. I couldn't believe it was actually true. She was the only one saying such things with such confidence. My real mission, that I had forgotten about during the fun-filled day, resurfaced at the back of my mind. The kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Had the Onikafushi Defense Alliance kidnapped the minister's grandson and already succeeded in negotiating the cancellation of the dam project? Did Kimiyoshi actually already know that and was just playing dumb? Was that what this girl was really telling me? Akasaka? The girl called out my name suddenly. What is it? Go back to Tokyo. Huh? I wasn't only surprised at that sudden command. Ever since I came to this village, I never once mentioned I was from Tokyo. Well, based on my accent, she might have been able to guess where I was from. What was I getting so worked up over? What was I... Well, what was I getting so worked up over? It was probably the sudden and complete change in her demeanor. You should definitely go back to Tokyo right away. If not, you will woefully regret it. The girl had been holding my sleeve the entire time. She'd been tugging my sleeve since hurriedly dragging me over here to show me this wonderful view. But this was the adorable Rika-chan who I'd spent the entire day with. There was no way she could have been replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't looking. She had been holding onto my sleeve this entire time, but somehow this girl was someone other than Rika-chan. She looked like Rika-chan, but she wasn't. She was some girl I had never met before. That girl had told me in an indifferent voice that I would eventually regret coming to this village from the bottom of my heart. That would be an incredibly pathetic thing to see. So I thought I'd warn you right now. Why would I come to regret it? Stop whining. Okay? Couldn't believe that I was hearing such cold words come from Rika-chan's mouth. I just couldn't believe it. Was somebody impersonating her, using ventriloquism or something? Thinking that, I wanted to take a look around, but the girl's gaze had me pinned down, making me unable to move. When you tried crossing the road, when the "Don't Walk" sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back to the sidewalk? They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they? They'd pull you back before explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, it's something like that. The girl I had spent time with, Rika Furude, would not speak like that. She would speak with a cuteness befitting her age, with brief childish remarks, expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words. I've warned you. Don't get the wrong idea. It's not like I'm saying this because I hate you. You don't need to tell somebody who's better off dead that they're in danger. Who are you? You're not Rika-chan. Hmm? Your smile got just a tiny bit wider. Tee? As soon as I accused her of not being Rika-chan, she let out a strange, quiet giggle. It was a laugh not befitting a child of her age. It was like she was possessed by something. Her change was just that, total and complete. Was Rika-chan being attacked by some terrifying phenomenon? That occult idea came to mind without any sort of hesitation. Rika-chan is acting strange. Somebody, help! Thinking that I'd yell that, I turned to where the mayor was. I immediately realized he was looking at us with a smile. That's right, to him I looked like nothing more. It looked like nothing more than me and Rika-chan fooling around. He didn't notice that there was something terrifying happening to her. Akasaka is such a coward. Tee. The girl had obviously grasped that I was afraid. It'd be weird if I... Like, that's not a cowardly thing. It's like... That's just... being aware, like... It's like a... So it's... just not being stupid. You're like... The only way I wouldn't be scared is if I was, like, not aware that anything was wrong. Noticing that and calling me a coward, she laughed again. The cackling girl approached me in a strange manner while still laughing, lost her balance, and fell flat on her face. Rika-chan fell down. If it was just a while before, I would have extended a hand to help her up without hesitation, but now, extending a hand to this ominous girl who looked like Rika-chan but wasn't, required a bit more courage than I had at the moment. Meep. The girl cried out thus. She then squirmed upright and dusted herself off. Afterwards, she looked around restlessly as a blank expression crept across her face. You've got to be kidding me. Was she making fun of me? That way of acting? It was as though, after being possessed by something, she had lost her memories of what happened. You're joking, right, Rika-chan? Meep? I don't know if Rika-chan had heard me or not. She just cried out like that, as if questioning herself. Hey, mister? Rika-chama, too. Tea's ready. There's some snacks, too, so please, come and have some. An old lady wearing a smock was waving energetically from the entrance of the office. Hearing that there were snacks, Rika-chan's expression changed. Yay! Okay, I was just going to say yay. I didn't know it was actually the next line in the dialogue. A carefree smile. That was a familiar smile, the one that belonged to the embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint of the creepy girl that was just there, spouting sinister words, had vanished. Come on, Rika-chama, wash your hands first. There aren't any manju here for dirty hands. I'll wash them real good. Meep. Rika-chan responded with vigor, running off to the washing station that was alongside of the office. She stopped halfway, turning around to call to me. If Akasaka doesn't hurry up, I'll eat his share of the manju too. They're steaming fresh. People who don't wash their hands aren't allowed to eat any manju. No matter how you looked at it, that was Rika-chan. Those words and the way she said them, no matter how you heard them, they were definitely Rika-chan's. Come on now, mister. You're the adult here, so show her how it's done. The old lady urged me to wash my hands. I didn't get to read that. Without any resistance, I lined up beside Rika-chan at the wash station. Splish splash. I stared at Rika-chan, intent on washing her hands properly, like she had probably learned at school. Meep, did I do something wrong? Huh? By wrong, you mean how I'm washing my hands. I only get 4 gold stickers for it. I'm probably bad at washing my hands. You're not doing anything wrong. If you're washing them that carefully, then that's more than enough. But it's not, Akasaka. If you don't use a brush and clean out dirt under your fingernails, you won't get a gold sticker. Rika-chan, you're very diligent. That's something to be proud of. Nipa. I was praised by Akasaka. No matter how you looked at it, it was Rika-chan. There was no trace of that girl from before. Exactly what was that sinister girl? Rika-chan, what was the meaning of what just happened now? Just now, you told me to go back to Tokyo, didn't you? Did I say that? I was at a loss for words. She didn't remember what the girl just now had said. Like I would ever believe something as occult as that could happen. Like I would ever believe that Rika-chan could be possessed by that strange girl and say those creepy things. Rika-chan, you definitely said that. Meep. Her expression told me that, despite me saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb, she actually didn't know. Exactly what was that just now? Just as Rika-chan had. I let a look of confusion creep across my face. The two of us both looked like we had no idea what was going on. Must have certainly been a humorous sight to behold. While partaking of tea and snacks, I was shown a propaganda film shot by the Defense Alliance that highlighted their resistance efforts. Older folks talked passionately on how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, but they fell on deaf ears. I was transfixed with Rika-chan, who had heard these stories countless times before, and was nodding off. Eventually Rika-chan noticed that I was staring at her and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. That smile was Rika-chan's after all. There was no hint of the sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika-chan lessened with the passing of time, but I could by no means forget what had happened. It eventually grew dark. The mayor said that they had prepared dinner, but I said I would have to come again tomorrow and took my leave. I had to return to the hotel and file my regular report with the section chief. I see. Well then, please come again tomorrow. Yeah. If you phone, we'll send somebody to pick you up right away. I appreciate your hospitality. I'll probably come again and enjoy myself tomorrow. Yes, please do. It seems that Rika-chan has taken a pretty big liking to you. Akasaka, are you coming again tomorrow? I finish after 5th period, so if you could come at around 3 o'clock, that would make me happy. Please come again. That pure smile urged me to do so. There wasn't a trace of that evil aura. Depending on what happened next, all that might end up as nothing other than my hallucination. Thinking about it logically, if the daughter of the Furude household, one of 3 families, had taken a liking to me, then this was a strong foothold for my investigation from here on out. It was like a free ticket for a reason to visit Hinamizawa. If only I could treat that little incident as a figment of my imagination, then having this girl, who was the embodiment of my ideal daughter, grow so attached to me wasn't bad either. I had successfully dove into the belly of the Onogufushi Defense Alliance, and had the mayor as well as other important members of the alliance welcome me with open arms. This was a great turn of events. However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back to the hotel, I forced down an almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. The shock from the incomprehensibly strange incident continued to torment me. Now, knowing what we know now, or knowing that as a player who knows like the fourth wall shit, the terrifying shrine girl met with someone's adorable daughter. I think the best option to other than just, okay, ways we could avoid getting killed in Hinamizawa. Option 1, just fucking leave. Just say, fuck this shit, we're done. Even if we have to quit our job. 2, tomorrow, when we give an opportunity, I tell the mayor why I'm really there and decide that I want to take the side of the Ongafushi Defense Alliance. Also, I don't know if they kidnapped anyone or not, but they could just lie to me if they did, and I'd probably believe them. Then again, there is a major problem. While I could understandably justify or at least empathize with them resorting to some violent tactics in defense of their city, I would say harming or kidnapping children is indefensible. I understand they're trying to manipulate the politician. I understand they may have the idea that they have no plans to ever hurt the person they kidnapped. But even if you're going to reason that using a form of violence is required and necessary to defend the city, that even if you make that decision to decide that the violence is justified, there are still certain lines that you should never cross that are just not justifiable, period. So even if you could decide that, okay, yeah, you're going to do violent things to try to support your village, obviously kidnapping, especially little children, it's past that line to where there is possibly no way of justification. Like, I could be understanding if they just, like, made threats against the guy, but the point where you're actually hurting or threatening completely innocent people that have nothing to do with anything, just little kids, in fact, that's, to a large degree, makes you feel like I should have no empathy or consideration for these people at all. It's one thing if the people of Hinamizawa are willing to resort to throwing some rocks or yelling some mean things or getting into some fist fights over shit. But if they're willing to, kidnap a child, well, that crosses a line for me to where I can no longer have any sort of empathy or concern for them. And of course, if they go as far as to hurt the child, then, well, as an officer of the law, I could probably take that step. Who knows? Let me know in the comments. Going smoothly. Why I like rainy days. Barley tea and black tea and a millstone. The sound of the car grew closer, followed by the sound of it braking as the engine cut out. At that moment, his up until now lackadaisical footsteps grew decisive as the man in the room dashed up to the wall beside the window and carefully peered outside. It was his comrade's car. Even so, he didn't relax his guard. Eventually, the sound of footsteps approached the door. Thump. Thump, thump, thump. passcode. I'm back. Open the door already. Oh, you must be tired. I'm opening it now. After Lux ran down, the door opened. A man appeared, his arms laden with swollen plastic grocery bags. The bags in his hands had 7 Smart written on them, with the bread and milk cartons able to be glimpsed within. The contents of those bags were then spread out over a sheet on the floor. I bought some cup noodles, so go boil some water. What's the kid doing? He's been sleeping the entire time. Thank God he's not causing any trouble. He did struggle a bit when he was about to shit himself. Well, yeah, if you have to go to the bathroom, you have to go to the bathroom. Don't let him crap his pants. It'd suck if it started smelling like an outhouse in here. Yeah, I know. Check the gag every now and then. Oh, come on. How am I supposed to breathe like that? We don't want to get loosed, so keep it tight. But not so tight that he stops breathing. I said I know. Huh. Didn't I ask you to pick up another can of gas for the portable stove? I have a question. Even if the minister is agreeing to your demands for the sake of protecting his grandson, if you guys accidentally fuck up and kill his grandson, at that point he will fucking submerge your fucking city out of fucking spite. And that'd be the least of what he would do. We're out. You never asked, you idiot. God, seriously, come on, work. Damn it. He rattled the portable stove as he struggled to get it to light. Seeing that the man who went to buy supplies let out a deep sigh. And with a backwards glance to the side, he began to walk to the corner room. The kidnapped boy was sprawled out on the sheet that was spread out on the door floor. Boy, you doing okay? Of course, the man didn't assume the kid was able to hear that question. That was because the boy's ears were plugged, with his eyes and ears thoroughly covered by packing tape. Also, his mouth was gagged with a thin, twisted-up towel. Because of that, the boy was unable to close his mouth properly, his cheeks sticky with his own saliva. Well, you guys are assholes. Of course, that wasn't the only reason. Both his arms were tied behind his back with a leather belt. You seem to be doing okay. At least you're not going to die. If your grandpa wanted to play tough, we might have had to lop off an ear. It'd be great if we don't have to. Okay, he's gonna fucking piss himself. Like, you can't tell somebody that. That's gonna make them fucking terrified. More than they already are. If the main family says we do, though, tough luck. I can't even imagine what kind of cruel things they'd have us do. The family says not one scratch on him, though, so it seems to be going well for the time being. The minister is discreetly withdrawing the dam project. The Himatsubushi is indefinitely proposed. Damn. Again, this is assuming you don't fuck up. I'm assuming the kid dies, which is horrible. And at this point, it's like, what happened to the dam project? We fucking nuked Himatsubushi at this point. We summoned the fucking Tyranids from Warhammer 40k. I wonder when we're letting the boy go. I just want to be done with this already. The main family seem to be gauging that time, and I don't know when it'll be, but probably soon. You're going to accidentally kill him, aren't you? Isn't that great, kid? You'll let go real soon. Can he actually hear anything anymore? I don't know. The men didn't know if their voices were heard by the boy. For him, there was nothing he could do but continue to sleep to escape this harsh reality. Well, of course. I mean, it's not like they're like, okay, we're keeping you here for a bit as a negotiation tool. We made you some peanut butter jelly sandwiches, and here's a Super Nintendo. Play some Mario. You know. Honestly, he's going to suffocate like this. And they're just going to check up on him. They're going to find he either died of heat stroke or dehydration. Like, what? How is he drinking water? Heck, if he's not taking baths, his body's probably starting to get rash and scabies and shit now. That's terrible. Just saying this. One, I would say using violence is definitely not a easy decision to make, but I could understand if it was the only way to save your city. However, there are some lines that even in that situation, absolutely zero justification. This is one of those things. You don't kidnap people, let alone little kids. Would it be effective? Yes. But again, like this is, you're arguing what shades of gray. And you're like, okay, putting sugar cubes into a construction vehicle, okay, that's a shade of gray. You know, stuff probably shouldn't be doing, but you could argue for it. This is just straight up black. It's just straight up, it's definitively across that boundary. More importantly, what are we going to do about the gas? We can't eat cup noodles raw. If we're out of gas, say something. Jeez. You got milk? We can just drink milk. Why I like rainy days. The weather forecasts have predicted that it wouldn't rain at all this entire week. It's not that I hate sunny days or anything. Whenever the day is the same, unchanging sunny weather, however, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. With simply clear skies for a week, a month, a year, anybody would wait long for a rain cloud or two. The weather specialist said that they had carefully scrutinized a large quantity of past data, so it wouldn't be so likely the forecast would be wrong. I knew as much. But even then, there was occasionally a day where I was hoping that I would be wrong as I stared up into the clear blue sky. Was I being mischievous and hoping so? I waited and waited, feeling almost suffocated by the boring blue sky, undisturbed by a single cloud. If you could die from that suffocating feeling, then the population of Earth probably wouldn't have increased to this point. In other words, the only person who was being suffocated by this was me. And so, I welcomed the summer evenings, where not even the weather forecast could predict a sudden shower. If I were to explain it like this, would you understand a bit more about how I feel? Let's say tonight's dinner was going to be curry rice. But when you're called down to the dinner table, what was waiting for you instead was an eggplant and bell pepper stir fry. This is just on your mother's whim, by the way. I would be delighted by such whimsy. I don't really like eggplants or bell peppers, but still, I would be delighted. The fact that the pre-established routine of curry rice had been broken would be amusing. If tonight was repeated 100 times, and 100 times you had to eat curry rice, yet for just this one night, that was changed to an eggplant bell pepper stir fry. There's no way you couldn't enjoy that chance happening. I hate pre-established routines. I really hate when things are all decided beforehand. I have no love for boredom. I always get my hopes up that something today will be different from yesterday, no matter how trivial. It's been decided that this entire week, starting today, was going to be clear skies. The weather forecast decided upon it, so the god of weather must also feel obliged to do so. But who's to say that a rain cloud might not just show up one day on a whim? It's something that nobody can say for sure. But because that thought remains in this world, a creature such as myself can continue to live without being suffocated. Tomorrow will probably be a hot and clear day. However, I'm the only one that knows that predetermined fate, even with but a slim 1% chance, sometimes changes. Hoping for that 1%, I hung up upside down weather charms on my sunlit eaves troughs. In the end, I spend my days waiting for those unexpected things in life to happen. I pondered why I was hoping for it. Why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. I've had my fill of clear skies. Then why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. The fact that it was going to be sunny tomorrow was boring. So why was I hoping for a rain cloud? In the end, it doesn't really matter whether it rains or shines tomorrow. Basically, it was just that the rain would water my heart, which was withered from boredom. That's why, rather than a TV drama where the plot's already been decided, I prefer to look up at the sky. Barley tea and black tea and a millstone. Your blood pressure has improved. You are too young to be having fucking blood pressure issues, Mion. For you to recover this quickly at your age, I'm rather or it's your grandma. Okay. At this rate, you'll still be kicking after a couple hundred more years, Oryu-san. The young doctor in his medical coat said that as he undid the blood pressure cuff from the arm of the old woman, tucked away in her futon. You're a very good physician, Dr. Irie. If a persistent old fart like me doesn't hurry up and die, I'll just be in the way of you young folk. Ho 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 ho. The old lady Oryu laughed faintly with a broad smile on her face. Then turning towards the sliding door, she called out in a strong voice, "Is Shimiko-san or Teiko-san there? Bring some tea for Dr. Irie." The sound of rushed footsteps in the hallway drew closer until finally the door slid smoothly open. What it revealed was a young girl. It looked like the old lady's granddaughter. Shimiko-san already left for the day. Do you need something? Mion, make some barley tea for Dr. Irie. Got it. Did you want some too, Granny? Or would black tea be better? Want lots of milk and sugar? I'll measure it out myself, so you don't have to put any in. Just bring the sugar jar and some milk when you bring the tea. KK. The girl named Mion, after giving a rather uninterested response to her taskmaster of a grandmother, returned to the hallway. Pour the doctor's tea in the cups for the guests, and make sure you bring a coaster too. Also make sure to dry the outside of the glass, okay? Yeah, you're such a fussy pants. A tired voice wafted a reply from down the hallway. The apathetic tone of voice was far from unusual. The old lady let a wry smile slip across her face as she chided the girl. Geez, that girl just won't learn. Nothing I ever scold her about sticks. Now, no, Ryu-san, you don't have to say that. Mion-chan is doing her best in her own way, even though she's so young. Her mother was the same way, couldn't teach her anything. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So her mother's mother must be exactly the same, no? The old lady burst out laughing. Her expression showed she hadn't taken the comment the wrong way. Dr. Irie, I'm sorry, but could you open the doors for me? It seems there's a nice cool breeze outside. The cool chirping of the higurashi had at some point started leaking through the gap in the doorway. Irie stood up and opened the door a bit. A refreshing breeze pushed out the stale air that had built up in the room. It's gotten fairly hot during the day, but the evenings are still rather cool, aren't they? It was the almost downright chilly last night. Yeah, those types of mornings and evenings are another one of yeah. Hannah was, Hannah was Hannah's yeah. Hannah has Hannah Hannah Hannah's is I just so oh oh so so so